it's time for him to put up or shut up. If Nick Smith doesn't resign, John Key should sack him.
Michael Woodhouse.
Mr. Speaker, sometimes people make mistakes. And ACC, which is a very large corporation, dealing with about 1.8 million claims a year, billions of dollars of taxpayer and levy payers' money, and I can't imagine the sheer horror that must have been experienced by the ACC staff member on the realisation that he or she had inadvertently emailed a document to a person that did not have any right to have the document. And I'm actually a bit surprised by the lack of empathy from the Deputy Leader of the Opposition about this, the so-called minister, shadow minister for bureaucrats, because in his long call he made very little, if any, mention about the staff member concerned. But I have some compassion for that staff member. I've worked for ACC. It's a big, complex organisation. There are many balls in the air being juggled, a bit like being a senior whip, I suppose, and sometimes a ball is dropped. But that is not why nearly 9,000 people are upset and disappointed that potentially private information has been disclosed. They're upset and disappointed because the person to whom that information was sent in an email that probably had a trailer on it that said, information contained on this, if it's not for the recipient, it should not be used and it should be sent back to the sender. It's a pretty standard sort of a trailer that gets put on every single email, and according to the information that's so far been disclosed, that did not happen. There will be a police investigation, there will be a Privacy Commissioner investigation, but to me, Mr. Speaker, that lies at the heart of why those 9,000 people are now going through the stress and upset that they are. But Mr. Robertson talked about ACC performance, that this is an issue about performance. Mr. Hague also said that this was an issue about ACC performance, and I absolutely agree with him. But in the 3.5 years since I've been in this House, the shadow spokespeople for ACC, Marion Street, Chris Hipkins and now Andrew Little have said an awful lot about ACC, but the one thing they haven't said is the thing that the public have been dying to hear, and that is an apology. An apology for the appalling mess that was left by them when they left office, for the contribution to $7.2 billion of financial deficit that was left as a legacy by a softening Labor government that saw ACC as a social cash cow for people in the grey area between accident and medical. And Mr. Speaker, I have direct knowledge of that. I heard Mr. Hague talk about a culture of disentitlement in his call. What I would suggest is that this is about a culture of more accurate entitlement according to the Woodhouse principles that he espoused, and I can give him an absolute assurance that those principles remain sound and that this government is committed to them. But it simply got to an unacceptable level where the level of acceptance of claims on ACC in dubious circumstances was simply not able to be continued. And the unfunded liability that this government was left with, the billions of dollars of levies that had to be paid extra by levy payers in this country, which thankfully this government has turned around, that's what it is about ACC performance. And if you want to have an urgent debate, I would suggest that that's what really this is about. That the Labor opposition continue. Nick Smith has got very little to do with the actions of Bronwyn Puller. And I feel very sorry for that claimant. I've had a number of people, thanks to Labor members in Dunedin, sending all their ACC clients to the national office in Dunedin, based on the experience that I've had with them. And I have very good outcomes with an excellent ACC team down there on extremely difficult issues. But let's be very clear about what this is about. This is about the actions of a member of the public exploiting a mistake made by an ACC officer. And I think that the Privacy Commissioner, again, the questions raised by Mr. Hague in oral question time today, do a disservice to the Privacy Commissioner and her independence, because I have every confidence that she will get to the bottom of what's happened and that some very good outcomes will come from it. But, Mr Speaker, this is about ACC performance, and we're still waiting for the sorry from Labor.
Speaker.
David Bennett.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.